This is the superolateral surface. This sulcus is the lateral sulcus. This lateral sulcus has a stem here and 3 rami on the superolateral surface. This is the anterior horizontal ramus. This is the anterior ascending ramus. And this is the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Posterior ramus is very long. Then we have a sulcus here called central sulcus, which starts from the superomedial border there, which even extends to the medial surface. Easy to identify central sulcus because on either side we have 2 gyri parallel to one another called precentral gyrus and postcentral gyrus. Then we have another important sulcus here called parieto-occipital sulcus. Actually, the main part of parieto-occipital sulcus is on the medial surface. It extends also to the superolateral surface here. And here we have an area called pre-occipital notch. So, the posterior ramus of lateral sulcus, central sulcus, parieto-occipital sulcus, and pre-occipital notch. They help us to divide the surface into 4 lobes. The area anterior to the central sulcus is the frontal lobe, mainly motor in function. The area between central sulcus and the parieto-occipital sulcus, this area is parietal lobe, mainly sensory in function. The area behind the parieto-occipital sulcus and pre-occipital notch, this is occipital lobe, it's visual in function. Then the area below the posterior ramus of lateral sulcus is the temporal lobe, it is auditory in function. Let us concentrate on the frontal lobe. It has got 3 main sulci and 4 gyri. The sulcus that is parallel and anterior to the central sulcus is called precentral sulcus. Here it is broken into 2 parts. This is the upper part of precentral sulcus and this is the lower part of precentral sulcus. Then there is a sulcus here called superior frontal sulcus going towards the frontal pole. Then there is another sulcus called inferior frontal sulcus. The gyri are precentral gyrus here, superior frontal gyrus, middle frontal gyrus, and inferior frontal gyrus. We can keep 3 fingers there, and under 3 fingers we have 3 gyri: superior frontal, middle frontal, and inferior frontal gyri. This is the superior frontal, this is the middle frontal, and this is the inferior frontal gyrus. This is the precentral gyrus. The precentral gyrus is motor in function. It's called motor area, and area number 4, the Brodmann's area number 4 is present on this. This is supplied mainly by the middle cerebral artery. A small part near the superomedial border is supplied by the branches of anterior cerebral artery. Lesion of the precentral gyrus results in contralateral hemiplegia. The inferior frontal gyrus is divided into 3 parts by 2 rami of the lateral sulcus. Now, this is the anterior horizontal ramus of the lateral sulcus, and this is the anterior ascending ramus of the lateral sulcus. Between the two, we have a triangular part that is called pars triangularis. The part below the level of anterior horizontal ramus, this is called pars orbitalis, and the part behind the anterior ascending ramus, this part is called pars opercularis. So, the inferior frontal gyrus is divided into pars orbitalis, pars triangularis, and pars opercularis. Brodmann's number 45 is given to this pars triangularis and 44 to the pars opercularis. Collectively, they form Broca's motor speech area. This area is supplied by middle cerebral artery, and lesion of this area results in motor aphasia. This is the parietal lobe. Here we have a sulcus called post-central sulcus. It is parallel to the central sulcus. I have pinned the central sulcus. That is the central sulcus in which the pins are, and parallel to that behind is the post-central sulcus. And between these two sulci, this gyrus is the post-central gyrus. Brodmann's numbers 3, 1, 2 are assigned to this gyrus, and this gyrus is sensory in function. It has the somatosensory area on it, and its upper part is supplied by the anterior cerebral artery, and the major part, lower part, by the middle cerebral artery. And lesion of this gyrus results in contralateral loss of sensations. Then there is a sulcus extending backward from the post-central sulcus, that is called intraparietal sulcus, which is broken into pieces here. This is the intraparietal sulcus. It divides the parietal lobe into another two gyri. The part above that, this is called superior parietal lobule, about 2 finger breadth area. Then below, this part is called inferior parietal lobule. This is the occipital lobe. Here the sulci and gyri are very inconstant. This lobe is supplied by the posterior cerebral artery, and it contains Brodmann's areas 17, 18, and 19, and the lobe is visual in function, and lesion to this lobe results in contralateral homonymous hemianopia. This is the temporal lobe. This has 2 sulci and 3 gyri. This sulcus is the superior temporal sulcus. Then the lower one is the inferior temporal sulcus. We have 3 gyri. This is the superior temporal gyrus. This is the middle temporal gyrus. And this is the inferior temporal gyrus. You can keep 3 fingers there. Underneath this we have the superior, underneath this we have the middle, and here we have the inferior temporal gyri. Superior, middle, and inferior temporal gyri. This superior temporal gyrus has area number 41 and 42. It is auditory in function, and it is supplied by the branches of middle cerebral artery. That is the auditory area, area number 41 and 42.